Welcome to Board Game Binge, the place where we bring you bite-sized, bingeable board game content from across the industry. I'm your host, James Staley, and in this episode, we're chatting with Jānis Grunte, a game designer from Latvia and one of four people who, under the alias of Brian Gomez, designed ICECOOL and the Iron Forest. He's also a co-host in a board game channel called Board Game Hangover. Jānis, welcome to the binge. How you doing?
Glad to be here. Good. I'm doing good.
Oh, it is great to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. First of all, this kind of pseudo name that you guys are going under, what is that all about?
Yeah, a lot of people asked us, and only a couple have figured. So our company's name is Brain Games.
Yep.
And in our company, one guy kept saying, "Oh, if it would be a person, it would be a Brian Gomez." Like, Brain Games, Brian Gomez. It's like a joke. And then when we started making a first game, we were like, okay, we need to come up with an alias. And we're like, let's just use Brian Gomez because it sounds like Brain Games. So
now, do you ever have anybody like reach out to you guys saying, "Hey, like I'm trying to reach like Brian. Can Brian get back to me at all?" Or
yes, actually, funny story. When we were nominated for the Kinderspiel des Jahres, the award for the best children's game in Germany, when we arrived, they were like, "Oh, we didn't know there were like four of you because, there's just one name on the box." So they were kind of surprised that four guys arrived. So, so it's been quite a few times. Then it's like, oh, it's more than one person. Okay.
So how did you get into gaming? Like, you've been gaming a long time, or?
I have all kinds of gaming, board gaming, like seriously, like I would call it seriously. I've been in this hobby for 15 years, I'd say, just as a gamer. I used to play when I was a kid, but then after a while, I stopped playing altogether and it was just video games. And then I came back when I was like 19, 20, something like that. Okay. So quite a while ago. So 15.
What brought you back in? So 15 years ago was probably Catan, I guess. Is that what brought you in?
Yes, exactly. That was exactly it. It was just localized here in Latvia, and I saw it on the shelf, and I was like, I've heard about this game. Sure, I mean, give it a try. And then like it was like this breath of fresh air. Like, board games are so fun. So it's just, oh wow. So yeah, that kind of sucked me into that world. And then from then on, there was Board Game Geek, and then there were so many games, and here I am.
So I imagine you have a day job, right? It's like most people when they're getting into this hobby are doing something else, right? This isn't necessarily a full-time gig for everybody. What's your day job? Like, what do you do kind of outside of board games?
I actually work in a board game publishing company, to be honest. So my hobby is my work and other way around. So, well, it didn't start out that, but yeah, I started working once I found the board games. I was like, oh, they're opening a board game store in our city. Yeah. I need to work there. I mean, what's the best thing to do is selling games, things you like. So I started working there as a salesman, and then as the time went by, right now I'm a game developer.
Oh wow!
So in the game in Board Games Publishing, so we publish many games, and I'm responsible for their quality. So if you don't like any of them, it's my fault.
So in working in a company like this, I imagine you must have a lot of exposure to different types of games, different kind of mechanics. Yep. It really must really inform you, I guess, when it comes to a game design or game development side, kind of how to put a game together, and what works and what doesn't, and what types of things people might like and what people might not like. Is that kind of what kind of then culminated into starting to get into designing your own games, or?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think everyone who's into board games, no matter as a hobby or as a work or anything, at some point have thought of creating their own game.
Yeah.
No matter if it's like actually became a prototype or it's just an idea in your head that you're like, nobody has created games about this theme. I should do one at some point. And I bet like 99% of the time it doesn't get farther than that because it takes a lot of effort and discipline to go beyond that point. But yeah, and somehow it just happened that we wanted to make also our own games, and iCECOOL was one of the first that we did like in-house design. Actually, all four of us we worked at that time for Brain Games
Okay.
publishing, so it was like an in-house design work
Oh, nice.
for that game. Yeah, so
Now, is that company you work for? Do they share in some of the interest of that game, or is it more of a, hey, we're gonna do this thing kind of aside from the company, and the company was like, okay, you guys go and do your own thing.
yeah, it was kind of it happened during work actually, but then the development was also done outside of work. But yeah, we're working on a separate, unrelated project when we're kind of, hey, these pieces move interestingly, huh? What do I wonder if we can make a game around them, and then step by step by step, iCECOOL. But it all pretty much started with these wobbly pieces, and which we started flicking around. We were working on a separate project, but that was like a lucky accident, I
Yeah.
guess I'd say. Well, at least the start.
Now I'm trying to think of Ice Cool. So this is the one with the penguins where they're actually on the ice
Yes.
floats,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, yes, exactly that one. Yeah. So it's a children's flicking game
Mm-hmm.
where it's very simple. The point of the game is just to go through doors because the board is made out of boxes,
Yeah.
and so you're actually playing inside the boxes, and those are different rooms, and you're just going through the doors to collect the fish, and you get points for those. Very simple. And one player is the whole monitor. He's trying to catch the other guys. So yeah, it's we actually when we started creating it, we thought it was a family game, but then it got all these children's awards. Guess what do we know, right?
Yeah.
Turns out it's a children's game, but anyone can enjoy it, even though it got all these children's awards. Still a family game.
Oh, that's
So
awesome. And so when you're designing a game like that, clearly you're getting into molds and things like
hmm
this goes beyond
yeah,
cardboard, right? At that
of
point,
course,
and
yeah.
when you're getting to
hmm
tactile, it almost kind of falls in the realm of toys, right? In the toy space.
Yes, that's a very good description of that. Yeah.
How did you guys approach that? Because had you been doing any kind of sourcing prior to that, or any kind of like
No.
modeling? No.
Up to that point, it was only cardboard.
Yeah.
We had only done cardboard and some wooden pieces. So like these, and the wooden pieces were just generic ones you can buy at any factory.
Yeah.
But so this was our first foray into that territory, into that realm, and it was an experience. Yeah, so many 3D printed pieces that worked, didn't work. We had to switch up, bigger, smaller, different colors and things like that. And it still continues. Will switch to Iron Forest later, I know, but I had to mention that
No,
this
of
that
course. Yeah.
it just continues with Iron Forest, new challenges, new yeah. So it's I don't think you really get that. You can't say like, yes, we've done 3D figure games, now we know everything and we're professionals. At least I think that you can't. Maybe bigger companies can say that, but for us it's still like an we're learning as we go,
Sure.
trying to get the perfect piece. Yep.
And with the other three individuals on your team, um, like, are you guys all still working in the same company together, or did everybody kind of go their separate ways, or how did that configuration work?
Three of us three of us kind of work at the same company, and why I'm saying kind of, one of those three works for a sister company more than he does for the publishing. Yeah, so there's like two sister companies here.
Mm-hmm.
One is a local like distribution localization company, and then the other one's a publisher. And so one of the three guys works more for the distribution, and another one doesn't work for the company, but we're still in touch and we still discuss design and get together and work. Obviously it's a bit more takes more planning to do that now,
Yeah.
but still doable. Still keep in touch. Yeah.
How
And
do you guys
yeah,
divide the workload? Like when there's four people, like I entered, like four doesn't sound
it's
like a large team, right? So people might say, well, four, that's not a large team, but I mean, in the gaming industry, it actually is. It's a quite large
is
team, right?
Mhm.
So how do you guys divide up who's doing what? Is there one person that's kind of the leader of the team, or like how do you guys function?
That's actually, now that you were asking this question, I thought, all the times we argued about something, I think if we get that time together, we could have built another game in that time. But yeah, usually how that works is we'll try to we put our set out goals when we start doing something,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully everyone agrees if those are the goals that we need to. And maybe somebody will say, you know what, this is more important than that,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll try to achieve those goals. And while doing that, issues might come up that any of us could like say, you know what, I have a problem with this. I don't think this is good. And then he might get shut down by the other people, and then he might not. So it's a little bit of arguing, but a good-natured arguing. You wouldn't throwing around things or
Yeah.
shouting obscenities. No, none of that. It's a good-natured arguing, but that would happen from time to time. But yeah, if you feel like something's not right, you would put it forward and then you would discuss it.
Do you
And
take it
then
to a
either
vote? What do you do if two people have
yes,
two very opposite ideas?
yes, we would take it to a vote. Yeah, that's what we do. Usually it resolves. Sometimes it's 2 versus 2. Then it's debate. But yeah, it is trickier, obviously, working with more authors involved than if, for example, if you're designing a game alone. Then all you have to do just either you listen to playtesters or you don't. That's your choice. Like, yes, I like this idea. No, you're talking silly. This is fantastic. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But here you have the authors that are also kind of playtesters of your ideas, because somebody will come to a session and say, you know what? I thought of this fantastic idea. Let's use boxes for a board in ICECOOL or Iron Forest. And then somebody like me will say, that's ridiculous. That's silly. Nobody will like that. And then turns out I was wrong. So you never know, right?
Yeah, it's cool. My design partner Adam, my brother, he and I will sometimes, often actually debate when we're creating a game, right? And it's healthy, because there's so many times where he'll bring something up and we'll be like, I don't know about that. What about this? And I'll be like, you know what, you're right. Or the opposite, he'll say, hey, we should, it'd be cool. That's always his famous line. It'd be cool. And he'll say something. I'm like, yeah. But again, we got to actually make that, right? So that might not be easy to make, right? When you get into like you're at a price that you can actually sell at, right? So, when you're
of course
producing in China, you got to make sure you have the lowest possible cost, because by the time you get through your duties, your taxes, your transportation costs, $5 in China could be like $50 by the time you're hitting the shelf, right? So you gotta be mindful of that. And there's a lot of cool things you would love to do that just might not be practical to do from a cost standpoint. Yeah.
That is a good thing you brought this up, because that sometimes also resolves any arguments that might come up. Like, I want to do this. Okay, it sounds weird, but let's try. Oh, it costs that. Okay, it's out. But like you said with your brother, it is a relationship, right? And you have to talk in your relationships. Otherwise, somebody's like, no, nobody's listening to my idea, and you just have to put it out there and then try to. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, communication is king. That's for sure. So when I look at, like, when you say something like, ICECOOL was not necessarily intended to be a kid's game, it was intended to be a family game. And then I see another tactile game like Iron Forest. Is that your answer to those criticisms when you guys did ICECOOL?
Yes.
Was it? Are you guys saying, okay, you know what? We're still going to make a family game. We're still going to make a game for everyone,
Yes, that's a very good catch. Yeah. When that happened, we felt like we didn't reach as many people as we could have. Yeah. First of all, they see this cute little penguin on the box and they go like, nah, it looks like a kid's game. And then they look at the awards. Yep, it's a kid's game. Yeah. Not interested. Moving on. And we're like, man, it is for everybody. I've played more with grown-ups than I've played with kids. So it's for everybody. So, okay, we're creating a game that is going to be for the whole family, and you can't mix it up with the children's game. No way you can mix these things up. So that was the goal of creating ICECOOL. And some people have said it's like a gamer's ICECOOL, and I think that's the perfect description of that. Yeah. It's still a family game. It's not like a super heavy game, but it is a bit more complex than, for example, ICECOOL is. So I'd say like a good entry level for Iron Forest is like 8-9-year-olds. Mm-hmm. And for ICECOOL, you can start as low as 4 and 5. So there is quite a difference, yeah. But if your kids have played ICECOOL, they can definitely get into Iron Forest much earlier than other kids who haven't. Yeah. But yeah, that was the design goal. It's a good catch. Not a lot of people catch that. Yeah, that was answer to that. Yeah.
And then Iron Forest. I'm gonna show the screen here in a second so people can see it. But what caught my eye was I saw a mech, right? I love mech, so I'm like, ooh, what's that, right? And I started seeing these like kind of the mini pieces, and then I see there's a comic, right, where it's talking about the story behind it and so forth. Where did the narrative part of this come from?
It was also a group effort, because we kind of threw in things that we enjoy. So like you said, mechs, man, I love mechs, and at least 2 other designers did. I'm not sure about the fourth one, but
Yeah.
I think most did. And there's also anthropomorphic animals because we like those as well. So
Yeah.
we put that in there. And then we have a flying city. And so we kind of took all these things that we like and we try to put it into some, not all of them made sense since we had to throw something out, but we just kind of, okay, let's do animals, let's do mechs, let's do like flying city, let's do like a weird world where all that happens and power-ups and gadgets and things like that. And we just put it all into one game. And hopefully it does make sense as much as it can. But yeah, we also worked with the same artist who did iCool, and I think he's fantastic.
Yeah.
Good fit for this project. So yeah, so we're very happy with what came of it, of the world that we created all together.
I just noticed the one yellow mech. Is that actually a rabbit mech? Is that what
Yeah,
that is?
it is. It is a rabbit mech. Yeah, it is a rabbit mech. There are like 4 animal clans, and there's rabbits, there's hedgehogs. You
Yeah.
can see it in the background, the blue one, like with the big spikes there
Mhm.
and big wheels. Hedgehog, rabbit, wolf, and owl. Those were the 4 animals we picked for our animal clans mechs. And then on the other side, there are the robot mechs that are like these big giant fighting machines
Mhm.
that are controlled by an AI. They're kind of the bad guys, but one of the co-designers of Brian Gomez really dislikes the term bad guy,
Mhm.
so we'll just say the other side. But when in fact we all know I'm talking about the bad guys.
So talk to us about, like, there's like catapults, there's like multi, and I'm showing on the screen here, multi-tiered box.
Yep.
So I guess the 2 box pieces maybe come apart and then stack. Is that how that works with the clear?
Yeah.
arms?
So basically we have so there's 2 levels, and the lower level is just like iCool, just with different artwork. Pretty much so the same exact layout. But we added like on 4 like risers, legs, the second level. Because when we set out designing this, we thought, okay, we need a new wow level. Because when you saw iCool, you're like, oh, this looks like a real school. And you flick pieces around, you play inside the boxes, that's a wow. So we needed, to up that, kind of pun intended, take it to the next level. And and so that's what we did here. We added the second level, and then we needed something to naturally get up there, like that fits into the flicking mechanisms, dexterity game. So we got the catapult, and this catapult was a long way until we got to this one that works really well. So that kind of came from one to another, like, okay, we have this, let's put a second level. We have the second level, how do you get up there? Oh, we need something to get up there. We have a catapult, and so on and so forth. So it kind of went from that. And then we're like, how do you get down? Oh, I guess we need holes in the boxes so you can fall through those holes and get back down.
Yeah.
And that kind of went. It's been a long road, to be honest, longer than maybe we would have liked.
How many years? How many years does it take to develop?
I think at the idea level, we started thinking about this right after iCool came out, which was 2017.
Wow. Okay.
So quite a while back. But then we were also working on iCool 2, like a separate base game, but also an expansion to iCool 1. And some of the ideas that didn't make into that game made it into this game. Like, for example, upper level, the second floor, that kind of made it into this game. Yeah. So like serious work has been done for 2 years, I think. But like on the idea level and coming back to it, thinking, throwing in ideas, it's been like 4 or 5 years. Yeah. So it's been a long road. Yeah.
So for listeners who didn't just see what I showed, and I got people in the lobby here on Instagram Live as well as on YouTube that are saying, Alex Young, for instance, says these ideas are awesome. People seem really excited by the creative. So for the very essence of this game is you have a little piece, a little player, right? That's almost like, I think when I was a kid, there used to be those clowns, right? The weighted clowns where you punch it and then it kind of, the inflated ones would come back up.
I think there is a name for those, but wibbly wobblies, something like that,
right? So, and then, so you have that, and then you're flicking, and is the a goal to get into certain holes, and you're trying to navigate the board, or are you trying to take people out, or kind of how does that work?
All of those things. So the game comes with multiple scenarios, and each scenario is like a mini game. So, for example, in one scenario, you have to go through certain holes. They have been marked down, and you just have to go through them. It's either doors or holes in the floor. And then once you go, you just take your marker off. You're done with that. In different scenarios, you have to take the other team out. You have to damage their mechas and and knock them out. And then in another scenario, you have to carry stuff. You have to go to one place, take it, and pick it up and deliver it to another place. So there's like many scenarios. I think with all the stretch goals we unlocked, there's going to be 9 different scenarios, and almost all of them have asymmetrical goals. So you're not doing the same thing on both teams. Each are doing their own. It's just kind of like a race game to do your own first. But you can also, stall the other player by taking their mechas out and things like that. Yeah. But yeah, essentially it's a flicking game. You just have your piece, you flick it, and the nature of it is that it acts differently from other pieces because it's so wobbly. You can actually curve it, so you can make it go in a certain like angle if you want to, or you can even jump it. If you flick just the very top of it, it kind of jumps over the walls, and it's really neat to see that happen or do it yourself. And it is something you get very good at. The more you play, better you get at it.
And what do the power-up cards do? So explain how those kind of integrate into the game.
Yeah. So another goal that when we set out playing was like, okay, so not everyone's good at flicking, and especially when you start out playing, you're like, oh, I hit the wall, didn't get out of this box. Okay, I did it again. Come on, this is already. And then you do it third time. I've so many times in fairs, I've seen people's enjoyment just fall with every time they do it. They're like die inside a little bit every time they hit the wall. Yeah. And our goal was like, okay, we need to mitigate that. We need to kind of take that equation out so that people don't feel. And so that's what the power-ups do. They let you like put yourself in any place you want in the box, like take another shot, for example, or place you in a name ring. They kind of bend the rules. So if you're really bad with flicking, but you're going to get better the more you play, so don't worry about that. But when you start out, you can use power-ups to just, kind of help yourself in these situations.
Take it like a mulligan, I guess they call it, right? And go
in a way. Yeah. So there's that.
And what happens like when you go outside the board? So I got this little launcher and I launched my guy and he goes just flying. Like, can it go flying across the room, or how far does the launcher actually send?
Of course. It not that far, but it can happen that you fall down.
Yeah.
So what does it do? You just get your mecha damaged and it's just placed back in its depot. So each mecha on the board has their own depot and it just gets damaged and put back. So you don't really want to do that. Yeah. But if you want like a quick way back to your depot, you can do that. That's like
Oh, so you could actually just take it, just say, okay, I'm just going to launch my guy off the board and then I'll get me back to my depot faster, but I'll take the I'll take the damage. How do you track the damage?
Exactly. So each of the mechas has their own ID cards, and just one side shows its healthy side and the other shows its damage side. Okay. So first time you get damaged, you just turn it to its damage side, but the next time you get damaged, you are knocked out. So you're moved from the board, and until next time it activates, when the next time it activates, you're going to place it back on the depot. But the opponent gets a power-up card. So that's the only way you get new power-up cards. You start with some, but to get new, you have to take out the other player's mechas.
Nice.
So that's why you want to go after them. Yeah. First of all, you're going to stall them. Second of all, you're going to get a power-up card. So that's what happens. Yeah.
I can't see this in your local currency. In my currency, it looks like you guys hit about almost $163,000. So congratulations on that. That's amazing.
Thank you.
What was that? What was your goal on that campaign? Like, what was your base goal?
Base goal was $65,000.
Yeah.
So we exceeded that. We didn't unlock all the stretch goals that we wanted to.
Yeah.
But I guess every Kickstarter campaign is where someone will say, it could have been more, but I don't think anyone's ever like, yeah, we got enough, But
I don't know anybody that said they got enough. People always want more, right?
Exactly. So we didn't unlock 3 stretch goals, but we're working on a solution to try to make it possible for people to get them post campaign as well in the pledge manager. So cool. No worries there. But yeah, so other than that, we unlocked many stretch goals. We felt that the campaign was doing good, especially for such a game that is not quite common. Not a lot of dexterity games that you see on Kickstarter, right?
Yeah.
So we think that we did pretty good. Obviously, iCECOOL helped. Knowing iCECOOL, a lot of people knowing iCECOOL were brought to that campaign by that. That was like our one recognizable thing that we used as our flag. Like, iCECOOL? Okay, come check this out. This is like that, just next level.
And did you carry forward like a fairly large mail list that you got with ICECOOL, or is that how you kind of brought that audience forward, or how did you continue to leverage?
Yes, as well. That we did some fairs before that, obviously, like Essen just in October last year. We did that, and because we've been showing this off and on fairs for those 2 years that I mentioned. But yeah, the high school mailing list, we were doing some ads before the launch and during the launch. So obviously, our mailing list right now is way bigger than when we started.
Sure.
So fingers crossed for the next campaign being bigger than this one. But who knows when that's going to.
Did you use any social media amplification companies at all, or did you do it all yourself?
We did. No, we did. We used BackerKit.
Okay.
And we used a company called Very Creative Name.
Very creative name.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a cool name for a company. So they did our ads, and they did our ads on Instagram, Facebook, Google, YouTube. So we had ads throughout different platforms, which obviously helped a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, the interesting thing, a lot of times people don't realize, like BackerKit's great. I mean, they've done a lot for a lot of campaigns. The one challenge with that is that they don't start until your campaign starts, right?
Yeah, of course.
So, so often you have to supplement that with, obviously, pre-campaign marketing, right? So, either you do that yourself or you find another agency to help with that. So, it's cool to see how you guys kind of put this together. Were you guys surprised at where you landed at all, or?
Yeah, we're actually pretty happy and surprised. But, when we were going in, we were really scared of like the comments section, because we heard a lot of bad things about the comments section. I've backed many projects, but I never comment. I'm like, if I feel like it's a good product, I back it, and then I don't think about it until it's shipped, basically, and then I get it, and then I actually play it. But to be honest, all the people were really nice. I mean, I think we didn't get any negative comment. Well, if you can call it a negative, some people were like saying that the price was too high, and we agree it was not a low price for a game. So it's not really a negative comment, it's just an observation. So all in all, I was super surprised how positive was the response and how valid were the comments, and everything was just and I was responsible for answering those comments. That's why I'm like, I was prepared for, okay, here we go. Here, let's bring it. But no, people were really nice. That was actually, I think, my biggest surprise throughout the whole campaign, how nice people are actually in Kickstarter.
It's a very welcoming community. I mean, you'll always have people, and I agree. Rarely, I think, will you come across somebody who's nasty on a Kickstarter page. Demanding, I would say, is pretty common, right? So I've run a few campaigns now, and people always want more. And I mean, as a consumer, you should always want more, right? You always want the best you can get out of any investment you're doing. So there's nothing wrong with that. It's just finding the challenges is balancing what, one person wants versus what's, the best for all, right? And without upsetting that person too, right? So that sometimes becomes the dance and, the balance, but
exactly.
So I mean, obviously, I've heard you say you've got ICECOOL 2 coming. Is Dexterity
It's already
Games?
out. It's already out.
ICECOOL
Okay,
2 cool.
It's already out. Yeah.
Is it just Dexterity Games, or are you guys going to do other types of games?
No. We do all types of games. We, take ideas from authors, and then we sign games. And we've done, I don't actually know how many we've done, but we've done all kinds of games: party games, children's games. I guess we've never went into the heavy game territory. It's always either children's or family games.
Yeah,
it doesn't get heavier than that. It's not like we are like necessarily not doing that. We look at heavier games, but somehow we found ourselves publishing and liking more the lighter games and things like that. So we do all kinds of games, card games and bigger names that maybe you heard of is like Team 3, for example. We've done with the authors from the States, and Game of Trains, a card game like ICECOOL, like I already mentioned, Iron Forest now. And some games are on the way as well that are not going through Kickstarter platform, that are we just doing with our own funds, looking for partners. Because we have a lot of partners throughout the world, especially Europe. that we work with, and then we do a lot of publishing through co-publishing with them together, co-production. Sorry.
So that's interesting.
Yeah.
So you have a, this is, I think, is it your second Kickstarter campaign? This one here that
It is
you
our
guys have done?
first.
First one
It
that
is our
just you guys have
first.
done, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So your model is kind of a mix of, creating games for other publishers as well as now doing some exclusive stuff for yourself. Is there another campaign that you're going to be working on anytime soon, that, like you just did here, where it's just going to be your self-published game?
Not anytime soon, but definitely.
Yeah.
Because right now we're gonna get our heads into the Iron Forest.
It's a lot of work. Yeah.
Finish everything up, send the files to the printers so we can deliver to the people that believed in this project and gave us their money. So we have responsibility towards them. Yeah. And one thing I like to mention, if somebody's hearing for Iron Forest and checks the campaign out and sees that it's over, don't worry. In a week or two, we're going to have late pledges. Just a shameless promotion here. Yeah.
No, please plug away. And then where will they go for that? Through the Kickstarter page or using...
Through the Kickstarter page, and then we'll advertise on social media as well. But through the Kickstarter page, they'll be able to get there. Yeah. That will be up in a few weeks. Yeah. But yeah, so we'll finish everything we have to do with Iron Forest. And then after that, we are thinking of doing another Kickstarter. We'll look at it. How we pick which ones we do on Kickstarter and which ones we don't is mostly how it could do or would do on retail. For example, Iron Forest is already an expensive game through Kickstarter, but if it would go into retail, it would be very expensive. And we thought this is the only way we're getting our dream game, our dream flicking game out to the people is through Kickstarter. We didn't see any other viable option for this game. So that's how we picked this one. And like I said, we do a lot of different games that are like children's games and family games. And sometimes if those are cheaper, then obviously we can do it ourselves and find a partner for these games. Yeah. So that's how we pick and choose what we go for. Yeah.
If someone wants to follow your content channel, where do they find you?
Well, Brain Games Publishing, anything. I can...
it's even your channel, don't you? You have your own...
you meant... Oh, my channel. Oh,
of course.
I thought we just
plug your channel, man.
Yeah, it's... yeah, so on my free time, when I'm not working on board games, when I'm playing board games or talking about games, I do co-host a channel called Board Game Hangover. And that's... we review board games there, and we do kinds of tops and whatever board game channels will do, but we try to do it with a twist. So do check it out. Yeah. And my co-host, he's doing most of the editing, and by most I mean all editing, and he's amazing. He's actually a profession. That's what his day job is, just video editing. And wow, I must say he's really good. What else would I say, right? But
of course.
I mean it. Yeah.
And they're gonna find that is it on YouTube, or where do they find
YouTube?
It?
Yeah,
YouTube.
it's YouTube.
Awesome.
Yeah,
so
it's a YouTube channel. Yeah, Board Game Hangover. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Jānis, thank you so much for your time. I do appreciate it. And man, congratulations on this campaign. This game looks super cool. Congrats on that. I'm so happy for you guys. It caught my eye as soon as I saw it right away. I was like, wow, this looks awesome. Anytime you can kind of get like tactile, I think it's just an awesome, awesome time. Put the phones down and start picking up pieces and start throwing them around. I think it's awesome. So I want to wish you all the best in 2022. You take care.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Cheers. This has been an episode of the Board Game Binge podcast, hosted by James Staley, produced by James Staley and Mike Bruner, with original music by Nick Smith. If you would like to watch these interviews live, simply subscribe to our YouTube channel, Board Game Binge, and you'll get access to live interviews, giveaways, and interesting board game content from across the industry. I can't wait for you to join us. See you next time.